I, even personally never really liked to wear. I just never found something that felt good on the skin. I always felt like they were too oily or too greasy, until I found sort of a cluster of sunscreens that I love, and two of them are by Supergoop. One of them is Supergoop Unseen Sunscreen, and one of them is Supergoop Mattescreen. Supergoop Mattescreen is something that I recommend to my patients all the time and that I use myself. I have it here. It's a mineral blocker. So with sunscreens, you can have either chemical blockers or mineral blockers. Mineral blockers are using elements like zinc or titanium to absorb and also block UV rays. Ultraviolet rays from the sun cause burning, which is mostly caused by UVB rays, and aging, which is mostly caused by UVA rays. And when you look at a sunscreen, you want to look not only at the SPF, which measures how much UVB rays are blocked, you also want to look at how much UVA rays are blocked. And the way that you're going to find that out is with a phrase with a phrase broad spectrum. I'm getting distracted by Michelle's comment, unseen sunscreen is my life. Unseen sunscreen is my life too. But I do love Mattescreen also, and I find that it goes on really, really nice, but it's mineral. And a lot of people do prefer mineral blockers to chemical blockers, which is what's in unseen sunscreen. But this goes on really, really smoothly and blends super fast, feels really good. And it says broad spectrum on it. So when it says broad spectrum, that is a label that is regulated by the FDA. So it's kind of hard to see. But if it has enough UVA coverage, then it will say broad spectrum, and the FDA has to approve of that. Sophia asked, Matt, is mineral, what does that mean? So chemical are usually compounds that will absorb ultraviolet light. Mineral are elements, are more elemental forms like metals that will also reflect UV light. And so zinc and titanium are two mineral sunscreens, two mineral blockers. And people like mineral blockers because they, first of all, have broader coverage. Chemical blockers usually just kind of block certain zones of UV light, whereas mineral blockers usually have broader spectrum coverage. And chemical blockers sometimes get a bad rap in the press. There are certain ones that are not great for coral reefs and things like that. So chemical blockers require a little more thinking. There's many, many different kinds. They have names that are hard to pronounce, and they just require a little more thought in choosing which ones you want to use. Whereas mineral blockers are sort of like a no-brainer. The problem with mineral blockers in many instances is that they leave a cast behind. They're bigger molecules and they can leave like a white cast. And that's why I love Mattescreen, because it doesn't leave any cast behind. It blends, super easily and in any skin type. So I really, really love Mattescreen. I think that is that for the sunscreen. So I'll leave that up a little bit while we talk about, other kind of more advanced things that we can do in skincare. So when, once you kind of have those basics covered, then you can start adding active ingredients in. And serums are really popular right now. And the reason serums are really popular is because they are lightweight ways of layering actives into your routine. So typically you would cleanse your face, and then on bare skin, you would put serums that have various actives that you'd want to use, and you might layer those, and then you'd put a layer of sunscreen, and then you would put a layer of moisturizer, and then makeup, and then sunscreen, or sunscreen and then makeup, depending on the product. Yes, Michelle, for kids, matte, I would say, is better than unseen sunscreen, because for kids, we tend to like to keep it toward mineral blockers for the most part. Chemical blockers can sometimes cause a little more irritation and sometimes cause a little more allergy. And so with kids, we typically will recommend mineral blockers, yes. So, you know, when you're choosing actives, you want to just think about sort of what you're trying to target. So, you know, many of you, I'm sure, have heard about AHAs, alpha hydroxy acids. So those are fruit acids, glycolic acid, lactic acid, mandelic acid. These are acids that break down the top layer of skin, which is called the stratum corneum, the dead skin cell layer. And as it dissolves those molecules on the dead skin layer, you get exfoliation. And this is a much gentler way of exfoliating than using physical exfoliation where you're actually scrubbing the skin. So most dermatologists will prefer that their patients use a chemical exfoliation mostly. Occasionally, physical exfoliation where you scrub the skin is okay. And sometimes we even do that in the office with microdermabrasion. But for the most part, alpha hydroxy acids can give you a really nice glow. They gently exfoliate, but in a very gentle way that doesn't require physically scrubbing. Beta hydroxy acids are another active that you might use, and the most popular of those is salicylic acid. And salicylic acid kind of is an acid that is absorbed by the oils of the skin, and so it kind of tracks to the pores. And so we really use this a lot in acne because we want to kind of open the pores. And so salicylic acid really targets the pores. Vitamin C is a really popular skincare ingredient right now. It's the skin's most important antioxidant. Antioxidants, you know, I think a lot of people that use that word and don't exactly understand what antioxidants are. But when you get sunscreen and environmental exposures, including pollution, there are molecules that are formed that are damaging to cells. And these are usually oxygen-related molecules, which is sort of counterintuitive. But they're oxygen-related molecules that are very reactive and can damage a cell unless the cell has enough of a store of antioxidants to neutralize those, what we call free radicals. And so vitamin C is one of the most important antioxidants. And so what it does is it neutralizes those bad molecules that environmental exposure and cellular stress can cause. And so vitamin C is a really popular skincare ingredient because it neutralizes that, it prevents UV damage, it kind of enhances sunscreen. And so I'm sure we'll get into those, you know, down the road. Retinol is another huge, important skincare active. Retinol is vitamin A. Vitamin A causes skin turnover to be a little healthier. So it doesn't just exfoliate, it actually regulates skin turnover, speeds it up, and normalizes it so that you're not getting sticky, dead skin cells clogging the pores, so that you're not getting sticky, dead skin cells hanging out on the skin and causing a dull appearance or texture. We have brighteners. There's many, many types of brighteners that we use for hyperpigmentation. And hyperpigmentation can be from melasma, like the mask of pregnancy that some people just get from oral contraceptives or just naturally. It can be post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation after an acne mark leaves, you know, some dark skin behind. And so there's a huge range of brighteners, which include all vitamin C and retinol, but also glycolic acid, azelaic acid, kojic acid, niacinamide, cysteamine, and a bunch of others. And then finally, in actives, we have anti-aging. Alias, if you can use vitamin A in the morning and night. Vitamin A is very is broken down by sunlight. So vitamin A is typically an only nighttime type of thing. It's not going to irritate you in the morning. It's just going to get inactivated by the sun. So we always use vitamin A at night. And next week, I think we're talking about a night routine. So we can talk about some vitamin A at that time. So the fifth or the sixth or whatever type, of category that a lot of patients ask about is anti-aging. And so I'm going to bring up this, the last product that I'm